And what are the times of your lives that you remember most vividly? About each other and about family and that type of thing now? Because you're how old now, Uncle Dick?
I'm 84 years old.
And Mother, how old are you?
82.
You just turned 82 2 days ago.
Yep.
Okay. And over all of the years, you've always tried to make a point to spend time together and see each other, even though you live in different states?
We've always been close, as the three of us are.
Yeah. And that includes your brother Bob.
Oh, yes, the three of
yeah.
us. I said
The three of you
us.
very
yeah.
close.
Yeah.
And very thankful.
Yeah. And what do you think about the life's turning points that have happened over the years? Like I said earlier, we're now looking at you're seeing the age of the millennials, the younger kids, and your kids' growing up and this kind of a thing. I mean, what are you watching? What are you guys seeing from your perspective? Now looking back with the wisdom and learning, what are you seeing kids doing? What do you want to see for your kids in this world?
I want the kids to be successful. I want them to honor God more than anything. I don't really have any desires other than that. That's the most important thing for me.
Healthy, good
it's the
life.
most important thing for me. To serve God, serve Him diligently, love unconditionally, all.
Yeah.
We learned that a little bit later in life, but it's very
So on that note,
true.
what do you think the most important thing is for living a good life?
She just said it.
Well, that's for living a good life. Okay, I agree actually. And a successful
The
life. I think they
importance,
both
the
go.
things that are most important
Yeah.
now. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that I've had the married into a good family, and my brother and sister both have great, wonderful families, which I love dearly, every one of them.
We're very, very blessed to have had you in our lives all of these years. Uncle Dick, we love you. We love Mom. It's been an absolute cherish and a joy. We're going to pick up on more videos as we continue on in this series. But it's been a real treat to hear a lot of life as you knew it, growing up, what was happening, what was all of it.
I have to say something. I've always kind of been spoiled.
Is that
And-
true? Is that true? Uncle Dick, is that true?
Well,
And pampered by my father and, of course, my brothers, because I never let them away from me. I always
I always agree with her there.
I always followed him wherever they went, the boys. I went, if I could. We'd go to the Diversey bus and hop on the back of the bus and hang onto the wires. And
Was that called skirching or sketching?
no, that was wintertime when you hid behind a tree and the cars would go by at a corner and be slower. And then we'd run out, get on the back of the fender.
The bumper.
The bumper, and then he'd pull us along, we'd be sketching. What was that
Sketching,
called?
is that
Sketching?
Skitching.
Sketching.
Sketching.
That's when the streets were filled with ice.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
okay, got
snow,
it.
Yes,
because they
yes.
didn't plow the side streets.
Yeah.
And there
back in those
wasn't a
days.
lot of cars on the street either
No.
at
And
that
back in
time.
the day, it looked to me like maybe you had some wide open spaces near around
Yes.
you, where now the city is so hugely built
Yeah.
in. But you can recall open
We called them
areas.
prairies. And
But
we'd
it
go
certainly
out.
wasn't a prairie as like in Wisconsin. but you
it's
had
empty lots.
Places that
It
were
was
open.
empty lot, but we called them, we were going out to the prairie. And we'd cook hot dogs and what else did we
No,
have?
we would make a fire in one of these lots and take some potatoes, throw the potatoes in the fire, and then when they got cooked, you take them out, put a little salt on them, and they were delicious.
They were delicious.
Now, whose bike did she take off with, and it got stolen from the corner drugstore? Was that your bike?
It wasn't my bike.
You weren't the one.
No.
There was a story that whose
I
bike?
wanted to ride a boy's bike. I got a girl's bike. Uncle Harold brought us 3 bikes one Christmas, walked right into the front room, bring 3 bikes. I was so excited. But then when I wanted to go someplace, it was right close after. I, of course, jumped on Bobby's bike because I'm used to a boy's bike. So I went to the drugstore to have a soda with Carol Stump, and I came out and Bobby's bike was gone.
What did you do?
I crawled home and told him his bike is gone.
What? And how did he handle that?
He, of course, was very sweet and understanding. I don't remember him beating me up at all.
No, I don't imagine that.
I'm sure he didn't, but he was upset. He was not so much mad. I think he was upset.
Did you give him your bike?
He didn't want my bike, and I didn't even want a girl's bike.
Yeah. And now going down the Hicks side of the family, do you recall your father's parents?
I recall my father's mother,
Yes,
Okay, and what was her name?
Grandma Hicks, Alice.
Alice Hicks.
Uh-huh.
But her maiden name was,
Was it Overby?
originally it was Overby,
Okay.
but then she married a man named Swanson.
Yes. I
And she
saw
had
that.
one son by the name of Swanson.
Okay.
And then he died.
Okay.
So then she finally married this man called George Hicks.
Okay. And where was George from?
Russell.
Russell's father is George.
George.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He came from New York. New York, not the city of New York, but I forgot the name of the town offhand. But in any event, he married them, and they had, I think she had 5 kids from him,
Okay. And
which
who,
was
do
Uncle.
you recall the kids?
Yes, it was.
Uncle Marshall, Aunt Gertrude, Uncle Harold.
No. She had Uncle Harold
And Russell, who was your
and,
father?
and my father Russell and Uncle Frank and Uncle Marshall.
And Aunt Gertrude.
No, Aunt Gertrude was Uncle Marshall's
So there were
wife.
4 boys for sure.
Yes.
And possibly a sister?
Yeah, I can't remember her name now. It wasn't Catherine. It was,
Okay.
What was her name now?
Now, do you remember any of these uncles as a presence in your lives growing up,
Yeah.
as well as your grandmother?
All
Not,
there-
but not so much the grandfather.
Every Christmas, we would always go to one of their houses. Uncle Marshall would have us most of the time. He lived on a lake somewhere out in the country.
Not at Christmas.
Where do we go?
At Christmas, we are at home.
Well, I remember going out to the lake with Uncle Spencer and Aunt Gertrude, and Uncle Harold would sometimes show up.
Well, Uncle Marshall and Gertrude live in Arlington Heights. I'm still trying to remember.
Okay, well, we'll look into that. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. But now, do you remember, or have you ever been told anything about the family? What nationality, what ethnicity they were? They were in the
On the
they were in the
Hicks-
United States a long
On the
time.
Hicks side, it was mostly English, though, what I heard mostly.
Very English. In fact,
Very
all the way down
English.
to Exeter, down in the Southern Isles, down there in
Yeah.
a beautiful, beautiful area.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the Hicks thing.
Yeah, in fact, the family history traces all the way back to the 1500s over there. There's a lot of history that's already been done,
Right.
leading all the way back.
Yeah.
So when you look in, you see that there's a really long and interesting deal there. Pretty cool.
And the Hicks name comes from a fish by the name of a hake fish.
Is that where it comes from?
H-A-K-E. That's the name of it. That's the name of a fish that still is there. It's a very nice fish too.
That must be an English thing.
Yes.
Okay, interesting. Now, what have been your favorite things?
Aunt Dorothy.
Aunt Dorothy, that's it.
Aunt Dorothy.
I knew he wasn't going to let it go.
Natural.
That Aunt Dorothy.
Yes.
And you recall Aunt Dorothy as well?
Oh,
as
yes.
And they were good people. They were
Yes.
nice and
They're all good Christian people.
nice.
They were, yes.
Yeah. And then later on now let's, because I'm going to piece this
Yes.
together, because this is going to go back in on the part where you guys are talking about